But you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side. Only the weak embrace it.
I feel it again. The pull to the light.
I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear.
Crazy thing is, it's true. All of it. The Force, the Jedi. It's all true.
Always remember, your focus determines your reality.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
One is never too old to learn, Snips.
As Star Wars fans, we've had a plentitude of ups and downs for the past decade. From Rogue One and Andor to the sequel trilogy and Obi-Wan, it's been quite the roller coaster. The introduction of Disney Plus shows on the heels of a series of movies that left much to be desired has created a rather large rift within the community. Now though, following the reintroduction of a beloved Star Wars character, in tandem with some jaw-dropping visuals in Ahsoka Episode 5, many are clinging to a new hope. It's anchored primarily in the direction led by Dave Filoni, who many in the fandom have clamored for years for Lucasfilm to put at the helm of the franchise. Despite its outward acclaim, there are still detractors. I've enjoyed the hell out of this show. Even the first 4 episodes have been well crafted, if not a tad bit slow. But as is always the case, there are those who are annoyed with this direction and or eschew the Filoni brand entirely. Thus, I thought it pertinent to find out what exactly made this 49-minute episode so appealing to some while still leaving others rather miffed. In the process, I wanted to answer the now overriding question of if Star Wars has been saved, or if the franchise is too far gone for redemption. Episode 5 kicks off with sweeping shots over Citos, showing off the red-hued forest as the camera draws you back to Ahsoka's last known, real-world whereabouts. As the waves thrash violently against the rocks, we as viewers are beckoned so brilliantly and beautifully to the damaged map lying in 2 halves in the midst of the henge. All of this is done within a mere 60 seconds of the episode. For some, it can feel like an utter waste. But this lingering, slowed shot draws viewers into the world so fantastically, all the more thanks to Kevin Kiner's killer score. It's such a fantastic, introductory shot overlaid with spellbinding Japanese-inspired melodies that keep viewers in a state of calmed excitement, as Anakin's reveal in the last moments of last week's episode weighs heavily on every single watching mind. Dave Filoni's first and only episode is such a love letter to Star Wars and Star Wars fans. It tells an intimate story of master and apprentice as Ahsoka wrestles in the throes of death. Some will interpret it as the world between worlds, while others will simply say it was all in her head. There, in this purgatory or way line within the Force, between life and death itself, Ahsoka meets with her long-lost master, Anakin Skywalker, former Jedi and Sith apprentice to Darth Sidious. The first half of the episode is dedicated to Ahsoka's one last lesson with Anakin. Her former master takes her on a trip down memory lane, specifically showing her the very first and last major war she fought in as a Jedi under the Republic. The scenes are interspersed with moments back on Citos with Jason, Hera, and Captain Teva, as they desperately search and eventually find Ahsoka in the middle of the ocean, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. The episode has hints of the cliche, given, the obvious Lord of the Rings parallels, but Dave structures and crafts his Star Wars story in such a wholly original and, quite frankly, optimally Star Wars way. Several shots throughout this episode that prove my point will be shown as follows. I had to talk about the lightsaber strikes on the waves scene. We can all agree Jason's hair looks criminal, but this whole sequence of events is so Star Wars and I love it for it. People are for sure going to be angry with Hera hearing the strikes as well, due to the fact that she doesn't have any inherent Force abilities herself, but there's no stronger bond than that of a mother and their child. Filoni handled these quote-unquote flashbacks quite well. We as the audience have a lot to chew on when it comes to the theories and lore implications. It goes well beyond the base level story of Ahsoka's current journey, but even brings us back to the end of Return of the Jedi with Anakin's redemption. I absolutely loved how the synthwave musical cues from the Clone Wars episodes was interwoven into the live-action memory itself. Truly just spellbinding, storytelling, world building, and sure, a tad bit of the nostalgia bait, sure, but, not an egregious amount. It makes total sense that the one episode focusing primarily on Ahsoka would be helmed by her creator himself. Who best to know where to lead his most prized protagonist, especially in the midst of a spiritual reawakening. By the end of the episode, Ahsoka is donning her white robes as seen in the final shots of Rebels, highlighting her newfound transformation in line with a hopefully far spunkier attitude heading in to the final 3 episodes. I can't stress enough how much I love the writing and acting throughout this episode. And even the last one. The action sequences were all the more engaging thanks to these incredible performances, and I really have to give kudos to Hayden Christensen for bringing one of the best live-action Anakin portrayals we've yet seen to the silver screen. Greenblatt was also fantastic as a young Ahsoka. Her delivery of one of the most important lines in the episode felt dramatic, heavy, and the history pours out as you feel the weight of her implications. The lightsaber fight scenes were pretty awesome, and it's hard not to feel incredibly giddy seeing Anakin Skywalker in Clone Wars armor. Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays Hera quite well. I think I'm not alone in absolutely loving the scene where she asks Huyang about Ahsoka's master. The delivery from the droid coupled with the immediate interruption make for such a Star Wars-y interaction, and we as the audience can relate quite well to the moment. Another awesome scene involving Huyang is the series' first mention of Kanan Jarrus. In explaining the character's background as Jason's father and a Jedi to Captain Teva, the immediate and almost perfunctory "okay" is so expertly delivered and timed. It's such a goofy, yet still profound moment in an episode packed to the brim with callbacks and Easter eggs. Huyang is such a gem, and a great sidekick for Ahsoka. Their relationship and dynamic is so interesting. The droid reminds me a lot of Batman's Alfred, just a whole lot sassier. Rosario Dawson makes for a fantastic Ahsoka too. I know a lot of people, my friend James being one of them, dislike the way Dawson was portraying the character in the first few episodes. But as many can clearly see, it all pertained largely to her character arc. I'll admit, 5 episodes is a steep asking price for some fans to feel engaged, to feel a part of the action, especially those who aren't Rebels or Clone Wars fans. But, I haven't even seen the entire show, so I can't speak yet on the pacing of the entire package. But I do think there are, sequences and parts of the first at least 2 or 3 episodes that could be whittled down and made into at least 2 episodes, The first 3 episodes I think could have easily been 2 episodes, let's be real. On my first watch through, some of the lines by Anakin had me a bit miffed. Those simple, quirky even lines, like when they first appear on the Ryloth battlefield and Anakin replies to Ahsoka with, "Yeah, no kidding." It wasn't until my second viewing that I realized much of these scenes are meant to be taken in a variety of different contexts. We'll get to those later into the video. And although I found the acting and overall dialogue in this episode to be some of the most impactful, especially given those awesome callbacks and brief moments with Anakin, Ahsoka has clearly changed following her time in the world between worlds, as shown in her more smiling, happier, and whimsical nature. Ready to take the future by storm, she merrily tells Hu Yang that she has no idea where the Purgles will be leading them, but it's better than going nowhere. The droid's instant "what?" of a reply is so awesome too, so on point. This is the Star Wars we came for, and I'm having a blast. With a bombastic, totally fantastical ending, Ahsoka Episode 5 culminates most soundly on the age-old adage,
"May the Force be with you."
Using the Purgle like Ezra before her nearly a decade prior, Ahsoka is whisked off into regions unknown. Before we ourselves can join her in that exciting and mysterious realm, we must first digest these prior experiences in the week-long wait for the show's return. I mean, there's just so much to unpack here. Before delving into the themes, right? Before delving into the overall motifs, as it were, we first must unpack the overall, I guess, framing of the episode. Titled Shadow Warrior, Ahsoka Episode 5 takes on new meaning derived from its namesake, taken from the legendary Akira Kurosawa's 1980 film Kagemusha. Incidentally wielding George Lucas as an executive producer, Kagemusha tells the story of a lowly thief-turned-political decoy, which the title itself refers to, who must take up the mantle of warlord following the death of the real Shenjin. His newfound position is dramatically challenged in the face of the oncoming battle, which really did happen, of Nagashino, circa 1575. One can see the parallels here in Ahsoka taking up this newfound mantle handed to her by the late Darth Vader, a character and villain that needs no introduction. Beyond its mirrors to Kurosawa's work, as Josh over the Dinner Nerds points out, Ahsoka's arc with Anakin bears clear resemblances to the Bhagavad Gita as well.
This holy book in the Hindu religion that basically talks about a prince who needs to fight this huge battle against some of his own family members in order to become the rightful ruler.
It's here where we come to the lesson. What is Anakin's final lesson to Ahsoka? That's the beauty of this episode, as so many varied takes have been devised across the internet. Especially when you take into account just the theories and speculation on Anakin's involvement here, proves rewarding. Is he a Force ghost? A manifestation of her own memories? A Mortis god? Some will hand-wave it all away as mere nostalgia bait, but the true fans see just how meaningful and how deep these memories can go now in context to Ahsoka's maturity. And we all get the cathartic release as she, like Gandalf before her, is baptized in the Force and reawakens anew with, at least in my opinion and research, 3 main takeaways from Anakin. Number 1, fight to live as the warrior she was trained to be. 2, accept her legacy as a Padawan of Anakin and Vader and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Dooku and Yoda before them. Number 3, control, balance, learning to let the Force's will guide her destiny. No matter how one interprets the show, as that's their own point of view, one thing is for certain. Dave's passion, love, care for this franchise seeps so heavily into the narrative itself. Yeah, sure, crack all the member berries jokes you want and make light of the fact that Dave takes special interest in his own characters. But you can't say that he isn't at least giving the fans something to cheer for. The fans that have stuck around to see to fruition Dave's building blocks in an era of Star Wars worth spending time in. It's never been a better Star Wars time. What? It's never been a better time to be a Star Wars fan, and I am so fucking here for it. Much of the problems associated with this episode can readily be considered as somewhat nitpicky. I personally don't have a problem with the episode, and its current 9.4 rating on IMDb should be evidence enough in the episode's integrity. But to be all-facing, let's meet these complaints head-on. For instance, one of the most problematic aspects for some fans, myself included, at least in my initial watch-through, was the foggy atmosphere in those Clone Wars flashbacks. But you have to consider Ahsoka's current relationship to the environment. Anakin literally dropped her into the clouds, from the world between worlds, into her own memory. Plus, I don't doubt there's an additional element of that fog of war concept. By all accounts, it's a dream sequence. And the cost to make something without those visual barriers were probably way too high, so just get over it. Ahsoka's newfound identity as the White, her transformation, which draws obvious parallels to Tolkien's Gandalf, has been met with some flack. But beyond these clear metaphorical undertones, her so-called transformation can quite easily just be ascribed as simply wanting clean and dry clothes. That's the beauty in her wardrobe change, as not only does it have that thematic baseline, but it's also simply just a logical alteration, following a lengthy dip in a seemingly unclean Cetos sea. Nostalgia bait. The loudest of all criticisms is the obvious member berries complaint that the episode is all but a nostalgia trip. Look at the reception. Clearly the episode does more than just tug on the heartstrings of both Clone Wars and Rebels enjoyers. It's got prequel and OT fans in glee. This is the type of episode that pushes the new story forward while still adding on to a long-established codex. It doesn't stomp on what came before, but amplifies it twofold. The episode can be, and is intended to be, interpreted in a variety of different ways, which should itself speak volumes on the type of creator that Filoni is. He truly understands the nature of Star Wars. You know, what's the age-old proverb? It's like poetry, it rhymes. That's why we stick around. And this franchise stands above most, given its ability to literally transcend time, gifting a whole varied subset of fans' enjoyment, as a new generation of onlookers sheepishly follow along with bristling excitement. So maybe the Ahsoka show isn't for you. And that's okay. I think what Dave has and is continuing to build here, especially with Thrawn on the near horizon, is truly remarkable and special for a lot of people. It's safe to say that Star Wars is headed in the right direction. Is it totally saved, though? That, I fear, is an impossible feat. With so many vastly different ideals swirling in the mix, such a diverse mix of dedicated fans to the series, I find it to be impossible to appease and please them all. At least the ones that truly believe, care about the series, can uplift it as it barrels to its most exciting arc yet. I'd just like to say thank you, seriously. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it, man. I love making these videos, and I truly love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. The franchise is at its best, I feel like, right now. And I'm psyched. I'm hyped to see where the arc goes, and I'm hopeful Dave brings it home. Brings it home. I'm loving the memes. I'm loving the culture right now. Everyone's fawning over Shin. But I have to say, I must say, Natasha Liu Bordizzo is mesmerizing. She plays a great Sabine. And Ray Stevenson's Balin Skull is a force to be reckoned with. May he rest in peace. I am probably most excited of all to finally get to see Grand Admiral Thrawn live action. His return and his reveal is going to be pretty exciting. Yeah, and I mean, that's really it. That's all I got. I really appreciate your time. And, I think I'm going to go watch that last episode for the 66th time. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. But, yeah. May the Force be with you. Always. Yeah.